Hello, internet friends. I received some great feedback on my last video that started to sort of touch on more like business and entrepreneurship as opposed to tech. And as promised in that video, if there was good feedback, I would sort of start this new series that is still, relevant with Flutter and tech and coding and whatnot, but with a bit more of a focus on, how do I get paid to do this? What are some good, tips and tricks to get work, to keep work, keep your clients happy, work with other people, all these kinds of things. So yeah, I'm going to kick this off with a just a bit of an intro video explaining what I'm going to try and do, and tell you a bit about myself. So first of all, some topics that I have in mind to cover, and this might not be a fully exhaustive list, but things like creating proposals, for various contract opportunities, quoting and invoicing, ways to sell yourself, which is, really what you'll be doing if you decide to be a freelancer. Just tips on working smart rather than hard. I spent, I feel like, a good chunk of my professional career just like feeling like I'm working so hard, but like I never, I was exhausted and I never took a step back to be like, oh, I could have done this like smarter using this tool, using, this process, ignoring this one, thing, so on and so forth. I want to give tips on, how to work with designers, to just have a really good collaborative process, as well as, of course, how to work with other devs. You might be working on a project, you come on just as the front end of something and there's a back-end developer. So what are some tips there so that, you're not hurting anyone's feelings and you guys are getting the most work done together collaboratively. I have a lot of great client horror stories, which I'm excited to tell. We'll do a whole episode on that, and that will be really fun. Obviously, I won't be giving specific names or anything, but, it's kind of stories I've been collecting for a long time that, maybe one day will become a coffee table book. I want to give you tips on how to share your progress. Development, especially if it's a little more on the back end side, it can be tricky to, share all the work you've done and make it seem like, oh, you've actually been, working hard on this thing. Because some of the stuff, unless you're doing just like a UI design implementation, it's not very visual, it's hard. And other challenges is sometimes, sending someone just a link, hey, check out my work, ends up working against you. And we'll get into some tips that I have in mind for that to just make, your life better and make the project a lot smoother and, get you that next job too. Because honestly, in my experience, a lot of my work has come from, I did a good job with someone, they liked working with me, and then I was referred to one of their friends, because you'll find a lot of people who are, building businesses and stuff, they're in a circle of people that are also building businesses. So if you can kind of get your foot in the door with some good relationships, they'll go a long way. Handling feature creep. This is a big topic. This will definitely be a, a video. This comes up all the time. You sort of have some kind of statement of work and you're like, this is what we're building. And then the client is like, oh, I thought it was going to have this. So it's ways to mitigate that right from the beginning and how to handle it when it starts to come up. Meetings. You're going to do meetings. Maybe they're just phone calls. Maybe they're big group calls. Maybe they're in person. But what can we do to make those better and not be wasting time and make you come across, smart? I'm also going to talk about some non-coding software tools, so things that will just make your life easier, things that I use or things I've heard are good, but I haven't actually switched over to them. This could be stuff, project management-wise, things like Canva, different Adobe products, even Excel, all that kind of stuff. Things you're going to be using as a freelancer, but aren't actually your, billable hours, like when you're using software like your code editor. I also am going to still keep this pretty tech focused. So I do also want to touch on the opposite of that, coding, software, frameworks, services, all these kinds of things that can, make your life easier, maybe things you aren't aware of, things I've used in the past that have brought me success without having to reinvent the wheel. And lastly, more. There will be more things, I'm sure, especially if this series goes well and the feedback is great. We'll just kind of keep going on it over time. And definitely, if there's some things I haven't, thought of right now in this sort of list, throw some in the comments of what you might like to see. All right, so that's kind of what I plan to do with the series. Now, something that I think is really important, especially because now I'm going to be giving advice that's maybe like not just like programming specific, is I think I should tell you a bit about myself. I'm pretty quiet on the internet in terms of, my, I guess, accomplishments and what I actually do for a living. I probably just come across as someone, okay, he knows a little bit about code and how to make things. So I figured I'll give you my resume. I'm sorry if this is a bit of a rant. I'll try and edit this down, get rid of some stuff if I just go off too much, but I'll just tell you a bit about my story. So, I've been using computers very young. I'm in my late 30s now. And basically, I think when I was like probably 7 or 8 is when I got my first home computer. And I was instantly just like, as much as I was like, oh, cool, this game is fun or whatever, like I was just like, how do I make stuff? I just really wanted to make things. I started with just downloading source codes of web pages, viewing the source and downloading it and changing it. That's when there was like Java applets were popular, and I figured out how to I think I remember making taking a hangman game and basically changing, just the words that were used or the puzzles. And I was like, wow, I figured this out. I can code in Java, and I still can't code in Java. I have no interest in doing that if I can avoid it. And then, I just played around with that kind of stuff. I got into, making websites. A program called Hot Dog was like, I still have nostalgic feelings for it. It was an amazing, text editor. This was before Macromedia's Dreamweaver and all this kind of stuff. And then I got into Delphi. Pascal would be the language. And basically you can think of Delphi as like Visual Basic, but instead of Visual Basic, the language, it is it VB script is the language in that? Anyways, it's Pascal. And that was really cool because that's when I actually felt like I was programming instead of scripting. Not that I really knew the difference then, but it felt like, I was like making something. So I got into that for a bit. Then I got into Flash. Flash was cool, both from an animation and design point of view, but definitely I made some games, bunch of stuff on Newgrounds. One game that was pretty popular for a while. If you're interested, throw a comment and I'll send you a link because I think it's still up on one of those like Flash archive sites if you can get Flash running. So did that kind of stuff. And then, in high school, I was like kind of a nerd. I was the like head AV guy, doing, the sound and visuals and stuff for whatever, like assemblies, concerts, theater stuff, that kind of thing. And that was awesome because I just got to play with wires and plug stuff in. But it was really awesome because I got to miss a lot of class. It was like I could be called down to do something. Or if I was like, I don't feel like doing this class, I would just be like, I have an AV commitment. And the teacher would be like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. After high school, I volunteered at this place called Rogers Television, which is it's a company in Canada. I guess it's like the Comcast of Canada in every way. It's essentially like a community TV station that's like volunteer, not 100% volunteer run, but a lot of it's volunteer based. So I started doing things like camera there, audio, and the switchboard, which was like really fun, and directing. And I ended up, getting a bit of a job there for a bit, sort of like a paid internship. So yeah, did that. Then I ended up going to Ryerson, which is now called Toronto Metropolitan University. I took something called Radio and Television Arts, which is now I think called Broadcasting. And it was a cool program because it let you experiment with a lot of things, kind of like what I was saying back in like the TV studio volunteering. We did everything from like digital media stuff. So that was like Flash and websites and animations and stuff, to audio engineering, to making short films, to live studio production. And then, through there, I met my current business partner. This was 16 years ago. We're talking right now. And we started a company. We were both interested in making, movies and that kind of stuff. But obviously, making a movie wasn't really realistic at that point. But we were like, let's make music videos. So we did. It was called Dinosaur Factory Studios. That was the company name. I still like the name. It's not my company name anymore. But it was fun for those few years. And we started like, kind of tying in our business work with our school work, just to kind of kill two birds with one stone, to build our portfolio while, also like finishing our assignments, and did some music videos for like some local artists and stuff. And then we, ended up being like, let's go to an office together. At that point, we realized, oh crap, it costs money to have this, and we're not making money doing music videos. Like, what the heck are we going to do? And I was just like, well, I know how to like make Flash websites and stuff. So we just like started like kind of more or less a bit of cold calling, going into places, hey, you need a new website, your website sucks, as well as like just things we get through our university like mailing list. I remember like the first paid job we got was $350 Canadian, which is a little bit less than $350 American. And at first I was like, that doesn't seem like much, but it's crazy because we did this like Flash website or whatever, and probably my hourly rate on it ended up being like $1 an hour, if you added it all up. But it ended up being like, oh, I got a call from that place, and I was like, oh, is there something wrong with your website or whatever? That's what I was expecting. They're like, oh no, I have another business, and I did sort of some work for them and so on. And that kind of like actually just that one job actually spun into a whole set of relationships that I actually still even have 16, 17 years later now. Definitely be a yes person, I guess, is my first tip of advice. Don't turn things down. There will be a point where you'll want to be deciding what to take on, but like early on, just say yes. You never know what it will turn into. So just snuck some advice in there for you guys a little early. We kind of like pioneered this concept of like share to unlock. So it'd be like an artist would drop like, an album or like a song or something. But in order to listen to it, watch it, download it or whatever, you actually had to share to Twitter or share to Facebook, and then it would like unlock the thing. And that really like kicked off for us. And we started being like, making good money in that space because it was like very niche, but everyone kind of wanted it. And we were able to this is when I started thinking about like building reusable frameworks and stuff like that. Cause it's like, oh, all of these, although they were slightly different in different design, they had the same concept. So rather than us building them from scratch each time, it was like, we kind of had like a starting point sort of thing, work smart, not hard. So yeah, we were doing that kind of stuff. Some in Flash, these were getting more into like HTML and stuff. And then we, got an opportunity, and this was probably the first startup. We brought basically when Groupon, if you're familiar with that, was happening in the States. It was only in America. There was these guys that wanted to basically start their version of it in Canada. We got involved with that project, and this, probably this topic could be a video on itself, but we built, the first Canadian, version of this thing. And it was very successful. They were on Dragon's Den, which is like the Shark Tank of Canada. They were on that. They got like investment and stuff. And that was just a crazy project for me because it was like, basically what happened is I was kind of told, oh, you just have to reskin the design. And I was like, cool, whatever. Yeah, I can probably figure that out. Say yes, And I finally get access to the code, and I'm like, this is all fake. Like there's no, there wasn't even a database. There was like, everything was just like hard coded. They already had like the deals lined up. Like it was like in 10 days, I had 10 days to build this thing by myself. And that was a struggle, but it was super fun. And that was like probably my first like building a real like web application that had like, server side and databases and customers and all that kind of stuff. And it was, for those interested, built in PHP, procedural PHP. Like this was before Laravel and stuff. It was a mess, but it all worked out. And we launched it, and it was, a success or whatever. So I just wanted to speak a bit of that because I have worked with a ton of startups. That was just kind of the first one. And we'll definitely get more into that a bit probably later in this rant, but definitely in further topics. So yeah, we're doing those kind of things. And then for, sort of personal reasons with the people I was working with and my business partner and stuff, we were kind of going in a bit of a different direction for a bit in terms of our life. And I had an opportunity to go sort of help this company who was positioning themselves as a marketing agency, kind of help shift them into like a digital agency. But yeah, I came in there and was basically like, the CTO with a bunch of, designer sort of people. We shifted from just doing branding and stuff and marketing concepts to like, we're building your startup, we're doing that. And I got a ton of like, experience, like working with people with ideas, working on tight deadlines, low budgets, with a great team of people. And yeah, it was fun, for a couple of years. And it just eventually the company grew. It got boring for me. We ended up hiring like a better CTO, someone really, really smart, who was awesome. And I kind of just fell into a place where like, I just feel like I'm an employee here now. And my previous business partner, Nev at Dinosaur Factory, was kind of like ready to, get back to work. And so, yeah, I left that and we rebranded Dinosaur Factory as the Young Astronauts, which is, here's my hat. This is TYA. and been doing that ever since. So same kind of stuff, we work a lot in the entertainment industry. We work with startups, we work with e-commerce, whatever kind of thing. But the way we position ourselves is we're not specifically anything. We can do anything, which has always been sort of our mentality. Even like one random project, someone was like, we need AutoCAD files made, which is kind of like, if you don't know what that is, they're like design files for like a car. And we were like, sure, we can do that. Like we had no idea how to do that. Although I did take AutoCAD in high school, I still I don't think I could do that. But we just said yes, and then we found someone who could do it, and we paid them to do it, and we got the job. So again, say yes. And it's kind of funny because all of our professors in university were very you must specialize, we're going to let you learn all these things, but you have to pick something and focus. And we were always like, no, we don't want to focus. No. And for a while it seemed like maybe they're right. But I remember with a meeting, a few years into this gig with Viacom, and one guy just kind of was like, hey, it's pretty great that you guys can do all these things, because I don't really have to do anything. He would normally be a project manager on it, and he'd be dealing with the 5 different vendors that are, working on this campaign, making sure things come in and stuff. But it's you guys can do it all in house. So it's I'm just I'm out of a job, I guess. But I'm sure he still works there. Yeah, so we didn't specialize, and what it kind of allowed us to do is, we're working on a video for someone. Oh, you guys can do this too? Yeah, we'll build your website. We'll build this app. We'll do this sort of thing. Yeah, we'll, do ads for you, or whatever, who we've worked with, I guess, is a good topic. On the corporate side, we worked with Nike, we worked with Apple, we worked with Amazon and Amazon Prime Video separately, Sony, Universal, Entertainment One, Pepsi, Mozilla, Capital One, Nissan, just a list of ones I think people recognize. Music-wise, we worked with various artists, everyone from Vance Joy, Ariana Grande, Drake, Bruno Mars, even Justin Bieber a couple times. TV-wise, we worked on the show Schitt's Creek, Kids in the Hall, fairly recent show called The Lake, and then a whole bunch more that are Canadian shows that, probably most people on here won't even know about. So I'll leave those for your own research. And then, we've done a lot of startup stuff, which these are my favorite kind of projects. And they're not the most notoriable in terms of I could name the name. You'd be like, oh my God, that's crazy. But some of these have become, quite successes in their own niche. But our big project of ours that's been ongoing for a long time is this company called Surf Music. It's basically a Spotify meets a marketplace for essentially connecting sales in the music industry for songwrites. And from a technical point of view, it's cool because it's built in Flutter. It's a Flutter web app. It's awesome. And on the back end, it's Django. Another product that we've been working with for a while is called Storyplace. And it's essentially a social journaling app. It's kind of shifted its focus over the years, but it's, you think of it like an Instagram, but instead of sharing photos, you're sharing stories, as in things you're writing with text. And I learned a lot through it because it has all the things, you could do in most apps that people want to build. Everything from followers, friends, to liking things, to submitting content, to moderation, blah, blah, blah. I've worked some stuff in fintech, this company called S Factor, and worked in educational space with this company called Dahlia, so on and so forth. Helped sort of a lot of startups in that sort of way. And I mentioned earlier a couple internal products. I've built with a few friends this app called HDRI. It was originally a Flutter app, but we ended up rebuilding it at some point in Swift, the front end of it. But it's essentially an app for creators, people who are making video content or any kind of photo sort of content. It's meant for capturing a 360 photo that is used for lighting maps. So essentially you can capture this with the app, and it is used to then put into something like Blender or whatever 3D program to then light your scene based on the reflection map that this thing makes. And then, a few other, we have some products and stuff, physical products that we partnered with people with that we, sell through custom Shopify and so on and so forth. And then I have some cool upcoming projects I'm working on that, some of you following might be a little bit familiar with. One of them being Dash Host, basically a place to host your Flutter web apps with some really cool features, specifically an SEO sort of integration. So stay tuned for that one. I'll keep the other one secret for now, but one other I can mention is the Open Mic app, which is what I've been building on another series within this channel. We're just building an app to basically find open mics like music and poetry and comedy open mics near you, and has like a social thing in it too. And we're building that in Flutter and in ServerPod. That's kind of just what I wanted to say. That was a rant. That's fine. So thank you I just wanted to kind of like give some perspective of, who I am. And that way, if, I'm giving business advice or whatever, it's like, okay, maybe he's a bit credible, like he's done these things. That was my main purpose for doing this. Cause, I don't want you feeling like, I don't know this person. Why am I taking their advice? So there, now everything. That's everything about me, every single thing. What I'd love to know is what topics, you want me to focus on first based on sort of that list I did before. Because the order, I don't think is super relevant. Maybe some need to be done before others, but I can kind of hit this out of the park in any way that, makes sense. And then, what other topic ideas would you be interested in that kind of fit this series? Or don't fit this series, and I'll kind of file it away for another time. But I'd love to hear in the comments, and, definitely any other feedback you have, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff as usual. And I'm excited to kick this off for real in the next video, and we'll see you there.